All right, sixth graders. So we just talked about getting fractions into decimal form and decimals into fraction form. And if you missed any of the fun fractions to decimals list that I gave you, you can look back at this video and you can copy these. These will be helpful in just remembering. There'll be there's an easy pattern that you can see here. And if you are converting fractions to decimals, it might be helpful because you don't have to divide those if you know them, okay? But we're going to talk about fractions and decimals, and then we're going to talk about percents, okay? Percents, like it says here, percents are numbers that have been multiplied by 100. Any number in decimal form that's been multiplied by 100 is in percent form. Okay? So, let's use an example 1. 1 times 100. What's 1 times 100? Come on, people. 1 times 100. Yeah, 1 times 100 equals 100%. Okay? So if I gave you one pizza, one whole pizza, what percent did I give you?
100.
100%. The whole thing. That's what 100% is. But what if I gave you half of the pizza? What percent? 50%, because 0.5 times 100 equals 50%. Okay? Now, what's an easy way to multiply by 100? Do you know what an easy way to multiply any decimal by 100 is? I'll show you. What if I gave you only 25% of the pizza? I'm sorry, 1/4 of the pizza.
Then you got 25%.
Yep. Now here's how you do that. We just wrote down this in decimal form, right? What is what is 1/4 as a decimal? Again? Okay.
0.25.
It's 0.25 or 25 hundredths. And if you move the decimal place to the right 2 places so that the decimal point went from in front of the 2 to behind the 5, now we can write this as 25%. Okay? 0.25 times 100 equals 25%. So multiplying any decimal number by 100 is the same as moving the decimal place over 2 places to the right. Okay, so that's multiplying by 100. All right? So, what do we do with the fraction? First, we have to write the fraction as a decimal. How would we write 3/4 as a decimal? Maya? Correct. First of all, if you needed to, because if you didn't have it memorized, then you'd need to divide. And we learned already that you put the top number inside the house, put the decimal points in the right place, and then divide, and you would find that it is 0.75 or 75 hundredths. And then to convert it to a percent, multiply it by 100, which is as simple as moving the decimal place 2 places to the right. So what is this as a percent? Somebody said it. 75%. Okay, this is the percent sign. Any questions so far? All right, go to your worksheet. How do you change a fraction to a decimal? What should you write down for that answer? Good. Divide the numerator by the denominator. Step 2.
Put whole number ahead of the point, whatever, if you have one.
Okay. Put the whole number in the right place. Yep. It's really about putting the decimal point in the right place. The decimal point might go behind the whole number, if there's a whole number, or the decimal point goes up into the answer. Like in this example, put the decimal point in the right place. Okay? So divide the numerator, which is the top number, by the denominator. Put the decimal point in the right place. Divide the top number by the bottom number. Put the decimal point in the right place. Question number 2 says, what is a percent?
A percent is a decimal that's multiplied by 100.
Good. It's a decimal that's multiplied by 100. Yep. Now, something else about a percent. A percent is always an amount out of 100. It's an amount out of the whole, or out of 100. It's the amount out of 100. So there's 2 ways of saying percent. Percent is a number times 100. In real life, it's an amount out of 100. So if there were 100 students in our school instead of 170, if there were 100 students in our school, and there were 19 sixth graders, which there are, what percent are sixth graders?
16%. No, sorry, 19.
19%, because that's the amount out of 100.
Yeah.
19%. Okay? Question number 3, how do you change a percent back to a decimal? How do you change a percent back to a decimal? How do you undo multiplication? Divide it by 100. And if you're moving the decimal place 2 places to the right when you multiply, then to divide by 100, you move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So, if we're starting with 75% and we have to write it as a decimal, we would move the decimal place 2 places to the left to put the decimal point. And then put a 0 in front of it. So the answer is 0.75, isn't it? Okay, let's go to your worksheet and do some of these together. Wait, what? So how do you change a percent back to a decimal? Divide it by 100 and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Divide the decimal by 100. Move the decimal point. I'm going to shorten the word point. 2 places left. Why did I capitalize left? Since this is your notes, you should remember that when you're dividing, you need to move the decimal place to the left. when you are multiplying, you move the decimal place.
No, I was just gonna ask, how much is this two?
Oh, sorry. This should say 2, the number 2. 2 places left. So in a percent, 72%, how do you write it as a decimal? Move the decimal place 2 places left. And then write, Maya, 72 hundredths. And now what? How do you write 72 hundredths as a fraction? 72 out of 100. Except 72 out of 100 can be reduced to can we divide both by 2? Yeah, what is 72 divided by 2? 36.
Yeah.
Out of,
50.
can we divide that by 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but we can.
18 out of 25. So it's 18 out of 25. 18 25ths. So we have to put these in simplest form. Number 2, 34 hundredths. How do you write that as a fraction? You write 34 hundredths. And then divide them both by 2 because they're both even. Half of 32 is 17. Half of 100 is 50. What do you know about the number 17? Katie? It's a prime number. So we can stop there because it doesn't go into 50 and it's prime. How do we change this to a percent? Move the decimal place 2 places to the right. It's 34%. Yes?
What if it's like 0.345 and you move it 2 places over? Then what happens?
Yeah, it would be 34.5%. Because the decimal place would come right after the 4, so that would be 34.5%.
Oh.
See, a percent can be any type of number.
Even
Okay.
a negative number?
Well, yeah. Yep. You can have a negative percent, or when we talk about that in 7th grade next year, we'll talk about a decrease in the amount. So it's a percent change that goes down. If the number goes down, it's called a percent change. It goes down by a certain percent.
Oh, that's good.
Yep, I think. Go to number 5. Let's do 5 and 7 on this side yet. Number 5.
Just those.
Yep. Number 5. What would you do with number 5? Devlin? What percent?
1200? I mean,
12 what?
percent?
12%. Good. And then, let's see. Otto, what is that as a fraction in simplest form? Twelve hundredths. What's the greatest common factor? What can we divide both by?
4?
4.
Woo!
Same thing as
Yeah,
2.
I wonder why you-
So it's 3 25ths. How about 3/10? Do you know that one? What's that as a decimal? Sinji? 3/10. How would you write that as a decimal?
Oh,
Where's the tenths place? Do you remember writing that down? Okay. What is it, Jacob?
what is it? It's 0.3.
0.3. What is it, Sinji?
0.3.
0.3. So write 0.3. What percent is that? No.
30%.
30%, because we would move it 2 places, but then there's a 0. We have to add a 0 there. So it's 30%. You have to put a 0 when you move the decimal point past that place. Okay? Go to the back side. Do the charts, both charts.
Is that it?
And 9, 10, 11, and 12. So do the whole back side.
Around just $1 more.
Yay!
Yeah.
Do we have to do this part?
10, 11, 12. Those are your notes.
Do you have to have